like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? I'll be honest, that's what I get. I've come to expect it from you. Those are the famous words of one George Strait. I think they're a little bit applicable to tonight based off how the first stream went. Don't think that's us. I think that was a StreamYard issue. But hey, we're not going to blame anybody. We're going to take responsibility. First show took a little hiccups, but it wasn't us in studio. I think we're good. So we're back here, second hour of the night. It is the national hour. And I open with a George Strait lyric because though he is a troubadour, right? He is a true songwriter and song illustrator and a true storyteller. My man, he understands women. You know what I mean? And I'm not going to be out here telling you that I know women. I know what my wife likes. I know what our life fits like. I know that. I understand that. I get that. And I'll give you a little piece of advice. Again, I'm no supernova when it comes to the women, obviously. But I will tell you this about women. They appreciate when you set standards and expectations and you manage those expectations and you manage to meet those expectations, right? Ain't no woman in this world ever married the guy that was Prince Charming when they dated 3 weeks in. And then 6 months in, he's a piece of shit. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't happen, right? Consistency, setting expectations, and managing expectations are important. So when I'm talking about a football coach, I don't really mind a football coach having confidence. In fact, I prefer it. I want your confidence to be outrageous. I want you to be extremely confident in what you do, who you are, and how you do it. But I don't need you to go out here adding expectations to our football program. You see, when you listen to that, you might be talking about, who are you talking about? And if you've listened to this channel before we went into this more national approach, you've heard me talk about this in terms of managing expectations. And you've heard me talk about this one particular coach who this offseason can't do nothing but hype his football team up, and that's Jim Harbaugh. Again, I got no problems with confidence. I got none. But in the last 2 weeks, let me read off you a little bio right here for our boy Jim Harbaugh and what he's been doing to his football program in the last 3 weeks. He's been suspended for 4 games for lying to the NCAA, or reportedly lying. We'll call it reportedly lying. He also said J.J. McCarthy's got a little bit of Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen in him. Why we feel the need to say that about our quarterback and set those type of expectations around our quarterback, I don't really know, particularly in his second year of starting. And then he also went on to say that his football team this year will not only break, but shatter NFL draft records, and has told any media availability or any media people that will listen that he's going to have 20 football players drafted this year. The record's 15. Now, again, I understand confidence. I get it. I understand being confident in your football team, okay? That's not my point here. My point here is the fact that you've now set the expectations of a national title on your football program on the outside looking in, okay? I understand walking around the building and telling everybody inside the building, we are national title contenders. We play to the standard. The standard is to win a national title. I get that. But we don't have to have Colin Cowherd out here telling the world that you're better than Georgia. And you can say, oh, the outside opinion doesn't matter. Well, then why are you steering it? Why are you steering the outside opinion? If the outside opinion does not matter, why are we steering? Why are we trying to drive our own narrative out there? Someone hopped in my mentions last week talking about, it's confidence. It's called confidence. It's called confidence. It's called bulletin board material. That's what it's called. Every time you talk about stuff like this, every time you go out here and say, J.J. McCarthy, next Pat Mahomes, you don't think defensive coordinators in the Big Ten are putting that on their board? Telling their guys this is who they think is coming in here? Because they are. 19 to 24-year-olds, 19 to 24-year-olds. They're going to use those types of, inspirational tactics. I'm not saying, I am not saying here on this network that you have to be Nick Saban, Kirby Smart, Bill Belichick, Vince Lombardi. I'm not saying you have to do that. I'm just saying those guys don't do that, right? Those guys don't go out here and set expectations with their words. Those guys go out here and set expectations of their programs and their football teams by their actions, right? You stack a pile of actions as tall as can be, and then you will have confidence. You will not need to tell people what you are or who you are. Go be what you are and what you say you are. And then you won't have to go out here and tell the world that your quarterback's first-round draft pick. He'll just be one. You know what I mean? Thoughts, guys, on this whole idea of what is Jim Harbaugh doing this offseason? Again, I get confidence, but why are we out here hyping our football team up like this?
That's my exact question. Why? Why are we doing this? Life is good for Michigan.
Great.
5 years ago, you would have taken this exact place. We got a 2-game win streak against Ohio State. We've been in the college football playoff for 2 years. Yeah, those games did not go how we planned to, and we got hit by a truck on the highway. But still, life is pretty dang good for you. You've had over 13 NFL draft picks over the last 2 years as well. Like, why are we putting this on ourselves?
This would be no different, in my opinion, than in 2017, 18, and 19 when Kirby's got all the momentum in the world and just trying to get over that last hump and trying to get over that last challenge. And then coming out in 2021 being like, fuck it, we're going to win a national title. And if we don't, it's a failure. Why?
He gives me those dad vibes where he doesn't really think about what he's saying. He's just like, oh, my son, he's going to go D1. He's going to be in the NFL one day. Meanwhile, he's not shit. So the big thing Harbaugh needs to be saying isn't we're going to be this good. We're going to have a Heisman winning quarterback. We're going to have 20 draft picks. It's we're going to play our best football in December and January.
Yeah. Because
all that other shit doesn't matter if you get to the playoff and lay another egg.
Look, I got all the problems in the world with Ryan Day. I despise – I don't despise. Despise is the wrong word. I don't like the way Ryan Day goes out here and tries to change every rule when his team get beat by it. I don't like that Ryan Day wants everything like the NFL because it would make it better for his football team. I don't like those things. But you know what I don't hear Ryan Day talk about? I don't hear Ryan Day hyping up his football team, overhyping his football team. I hear him talk confidently. We're a good football team. We do the things that we're supposed to do to win, all that good stuff, all that coach speak. But I never hear Ryan Day come out and say, yeah, we're the most talented team in the Big Ten. We're the most talented team in college football history. That's what we are. That's what Jim Harbaugh has done this offseason. And again, I'm all for confidence. I am all for confidence. But I don't understand why we feel the need to set outrageous expectations for our football program when now the expectations are already for you to make a college football playoff. You've done it the last 2 football seasons. Your fans expect that. Now your fans are looking at you like, why can't we win a title? Because you've essentially promised it. Not that you have, but you basically have. You've told everyone that you have no reason not to win a national title. And again, I'm not saying you have to be Nick Saban. I'm not saying you have to be Kirby Smart. I'm not saying you got to be Belichick or Lombardi. But those are the 4 football coaches that have won at unprecedented rates in their collective sports, and they don't do this stuff. They never, ever, ever do this stuff. They never go to the microphone and give the opposition something to put on their board. And I don't know, guys, but if the greatest of all time are doing it, just because you're really, really good doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. You know what I mean?
You know what it kind of gives off? It kind of gives off the energy of the kid at school that would tell everybody throughout the day, hey, y'all come to the game. I'm finna drop 40 tonight. And everybody comes, they play 10 minutes and they don't score any points. So that's what he's essentially done to himself. He's telling everybody, hey, y'all come up. Y'all pull up to us. Michigan's got it going on right now. And then you lay an egg, everybody was like, ooh, that didn't go too well.
My favorite's going to be I don't even know why y'all gave us all those expectations. We just had to overcome our season.
The only thing that I can even think of, on the contrary, what if Michigan does win the Natty this year? What if everything that Harbaugh has been saying up to this point happens and he looks like the coolest coach? He looks like Joe Burrow in the coaching staff. You remember Joe Burrow was talking all that smack?
Oh, he was.
He was talking
entering the season. He was
talking hella reckless.
We're finna score 50 again.
And he is now probably one of the coolest quarterback figures other than Johnny Manziel in college sports. So that might be Harbaugh's ulterior motive to do that and then bounce to the NFL, get a check. But we'll see.
Just with no drip. He'll do it with no drip.
He'll do it with 47 pockets in his pants.
He'll do it with a Sharpie on his whistle.
Facts.
Weird. Football coaches, why in the hell are we wearing whistles on game day? What you finna do? You finna blow the play dead? What? Why? Why we got a whistle on game day? Don't understand that. Glad he got out of the khakis a little bit. You know, he switches out of the khakis every once in a while. Also glad he stopped coming down here during the summer and taking his shirt off at mega camps. But hey, you know, we're just talking. I love Jim Harbaugh.
I figured you'd love that, seeing dudes take their shirts off.
Call back. I do love dudes. I ain't gonna lie to you. I love seeing dudes. I love seeing dudes in the chat. I love seeing dudes all over the place. I love seeing dudes get bigger. That's for sure. Michigan does have some dudes, but this idea that you're going to have 7 offensive linemen drafted this year and you're telling media people this, absurd. Why? Why are you doing this? I don't understand. Again, we said this a couple weeks back on a different subject. Why? It's all I could bring to you. Why? Why are you doing this? And it makes a little sense. Hey, I'm going to reintroduce the audience to you, okay? New show format. It was a national-only broadcast here. We were already live 8 to about 8:45 just a minute ago, talking all dogs over there on Talk the Dog. Today, nothing but rants, the show where I find topics that I'm mildly passionate about. I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, rather takes I'm hot about. I'm Brooks Austin. For those of you who don't know, I am the film guy. I'm also the lead editor for Dogs Daily and the lead recruiting analyst and director of recruiting for Sports Illustrated and Fan Nation. Those are my bona fides. These are my producers, Kirby and Jay Will. They are certainly worth your like, thumbs up, and subscribe. We will be here live every single Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 8 to 10. Again, 8 to 9 being our local hour. We're going to talk all Georgia stuff, get that knocked out of the way. This 9 to 10 hour, we're trying to compete with the big boys, okay? I'm not saying I'm all those other people you watch on the national analyst circuits. I'm just saying I've been asked to go work with them. So instead of doing that, we're going to do it right here. All right, we're going to do it right here from the house. We're going to do it right here from the beautiful, fine state of Georgia. We're going to be unbiased, and we're going to give you the takes, again, that we're passionate about. Like KJ Bolden going to Florida State. We hit this from the Georgia angle in the first show. If you don't know, I don't know how you don't know, but KJ Bolden committed to Florida State yesterday. And while the internet might have told you differently, I think this was pretty clear cut. I think this is pretty easy. I think this is pretty simple. I hear a lot of time on the recruiting trail. Oh, they're my dream school. Oh, they're my dream school. And I'll be honest with you, 9 times out of 10, when a kid tells me that, they're saying it about a program that used to be great, that they watched as a child, and that is no longer in that upper echelon, is no longer in the actual process of landing these types of football players. That's what, oh, that's my dream school used to mean, okay? But that's not what Florida State is, okay? That's what Florida State was. Florida State was a predominant program that wasn't really hitting no more, right? It was a program that was great in the thousands that just ain't hitting no more, right? That's what Florida State was. That's not what Florida State is. Florida State is a program right now with momentum. Florida State is a football program that can talk to a 5-star and make that 5-star believe they are one insert 5-star here away from being in national title contention. That's what Florida State is right now, okay? Mike Norvell and this Florida State program, they won 10 football games last year. But the more important stat to me is that this football program has lost 10 football games in the last 2 years. Okay, so they're averaging 5 losses a season over the last 2 years. Okay, over those 10 losses in the last 2 years, you know they only have 1 of those 10 losses that were more than 2 scores, meaning they actually lost the football game. They got whooped. They got beat. It's happened once in the last 2 years. They lost 3 football games last year. They were 10-3. In those 3 losses, they lost by a combined score of 16 points. This is a football program, ladies and gentlemen, that is very, very close. They are a couple of 5-stars away. They are Charles Lester, KJ Bolden, maybe away. They are the number 4 overall recruiting class away from being able to say they are back, right? The FSU is back. And they've done this under less than ideal circumstances. Mike Norvell is not the first football coach to take over a program amidst COVID. Don't get me wrong. I'm not giving him his flowers for that. But I am giving him his flowers for taking over a roster that was clearly 500 capable under Willie Taggart and taking over a program that was clearly in distraught under Willie Taggart and turning that into a program that can walk into 5-stars bed or, living room and say, hey, son, all we need is you. That's all we need. I know what you're doing. I know what you're doing.
Bro, you said bedroom.
Bro, I said bedroom. I know. And you know what? When I typed the damn notes, I typed in bedroom, and I had to backspace and put living room because why the hell would he go to the bedroom? Yeah,
Stop
I had to
think about dudes, man. Come on. Lock in.
Just lock in. Stop talking about dudes. But hey, dude, honestly, Mike Norvell to have turned this program around from a 500 roster and a 500, performing football program under Willie Taggart, and one that didn't really have any direction or didn't have any Uncle Mo, didn't have any momentum laying around that program. And now Uncle Mo popping his head around everywhere. Just Mo all over that Florida State program. There's plenty of momentum around them. And again, less than ideal circumstances. And if you look at them from a recruiting standpoint, it is turning up, right? I do like Landon Thomas in that class from Colquitt County. I do like Charles Lester. Of course, I like KJ Bolden. I do think he is a not necessarily a transcendent football player, but he is an impactful football player for damn sure on that roster. So Mike Norvell doing some great stuff, but it didn't just start overnight, right? It wasn't just one that really happened quickly.
No, I mean, you've seen this process building for a long time. I went to a game last year in Tallahassee and watched them, and you could kind of tell that things were in the works of getting better. It was when they played, I want to say Louisville or NC State. They lost, obviously, but you could even tell then that there was kind of a buzz around this program, that things were going in at least the right direction. They weren't, obviously, like you said, going to happen overnight, but it has been going the right direction. And KJ Bolden is a testament to this, as you can see that you've got your program now going into Georgia's backyard, arguably the most dominant program in college football right now, and getting what is essentially the number one player out of that state. Dylan Raiola is ranked as the number one right now, but he's from California. He just transferred to Buford, so I would say
count.
Yeah,
we're not counting.
Shout out Dylan Raiola though.
I would say for me, the big thing is like over the past couple of years, it feels like Florida State has had some we almost had a moments.
Yeah.
Like you almost had Amarius Mims out of the transfer portal. You almost had Travis Hunter at the last class. It looked like this was going to be another one of those, we almost had a moments. But now you lock down KJ Bolden. You have the momentum rolling for your program. Heck, they beat LSU last year to start the season. I think that's easy to forget about. So now going into this season, it looks like there's a perfect moment for them because Clemson's kind of taken a little bit of a step back, not necessarily falling off by any means, but there's kind of a little crease, and it's time to see if FSU can take it.
Dude, at the end of the 2020 season, FSU is 3-6, right? COVID season's awful. Mike Norvell's first year there. 2.5 years later, if you told me Mike Norvell is sitting in team rooms and standing in front of his players and realistically talking to them about national title expectations, I would tell you those are warranted. In fact, I would tell you right now, looking at their schedule, looking at their roster, and looking at where they're situated after last year, and the fact that they have a 3-year returning starter at the quarterback position in Travis, if they aren't talking about playing for national titles, well, then they're not the program and culture that we believe they are here on this program. Because I've had the opportunity to meet Mike Norvell. I've had the opportunity to run into a couple of his coaches on the coaching staff on the recruiting trail down in South Georgia. There's no reason Florida State shouldn't be a preeminent program in this country. Kids still think that Seminole logo means something. They still think Doak Walker Stadium is cool as shit when they go in there. They think the Doak is awesome. So there's still a bunch of pull with young football players in this area in Atlanta, so much more so than like a Miami. Like the Hurricanes don't have that lore no more for young players. Florida State for some reason still has it. So Mike Norvell doing a great job and a great dude. I always notice head coaches can be a little standoffish. They all come with police officers. But, if you don't know me from Adam, if I walk up to you and say, hey, coach, love what you're doing, all that good stuff, I get one of two reactions. I get, hey, who you work for? That person wants to have a genuine conversation with me. The other one is, yeah, man, appreciate you. They give you a little head nod and move on. I promise you right now, if you're a head coach watching today, don't be a, yeah, what's up, man, with a little head nod. Don't be that. Be somebody willing to ask because you might get something out of it. Thoughts on what Mike Norvell is doing right now at Florida State? I know we kind of already talked about it, but
I mean, I think it's definitely great for college football. It feels like it wasn't that long ago that Jameis Winston and them were down there dominating the college football
2013.
landscape. But it has been a hot minute. So I think
shouts out to the public scrab legs.
It's good to have FSU as at least one Florida program has got to get back up there competing for national titles again. And it looks like FSU is going to be the school to do it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I mean, Florida State's definitely in the lead, I guess, of the we're back Florida sweepstakes. I don't know what UF's going to do. I mean, I don't know if Billy Napier's there in 3 years. And then I just don't buy Mario Cristobal at Miami right now. He hasn't given me a reason.
UCF was winning the sweepstakes for a little bit.
Sometimes.
Oh, my God, yeah.
Sometimes, and this isn't true for Kirby, but I worry about it with Cristobal down there in Miami. Like, that was his dream job. Like Cristobal was a guy that fell into a head coaching job and then fell down the ranks and then had to go to the FAU route and then had to, go be a position coach again and then climb his way back up through a coordinator and then go be a head coach at Oregon. And now he's got his dream job. And sometimes, man, I feel like as coaches and as professionals, particularly when we get towards the middle of our career, once we reach a milestone, sometimes we can kind of get on our heels. And I'm not accusing Mario of that. He's certainly probably still working really, really hard. But I don't know if it's going to be successful, like you mentioned down there in Miami. I would certainly put my money on the FSU sweepstakes with regards to being quote unquote back. Y'all see this Travis Hunter thinking finna win a Heisman stuff?
Oh boy,
Man, it'd be something. I would tell you that much.
So this is what I want to do. I don't mean to cut you off,
No,
but
you're good.
This could be really, really easy for us to sit here and just take shots at Colorado. So I don't want to do that. What I want to do is I want to say, hey, Colorado is going to be 6-6 this year. Let's say that. They're not going to be, by the way. I think they're winning 3 or 4 games. All right. But let's say they're 6-6. What would it take? What kind of season would it take from Travis Hunter in order for us to think he is the Heisman Trophy winner on a 6-6 football team? Because I kind of have my thoughts. I don't know what the Charles Woodson stats were back in the day, but it's going to have to be because he's the best two-way player in the country. And he's not only the best two-way player, but he's the best receiver and he's the best corner. If Colorado were 6-6, chat, listen to me. If Colorado were 6-6 this year, and Travis Hunter had 1,500 yards and was the best corner in America, do you think about giving him a Heisman Trophy vote? Because I might. Like, I'm not one of these that just thinks it has to be directly tied to team success. All right, if you're a quarterback, yes. If you're a quarterback and you're the best quarterback in America, your team better not be losing football games. Not a lot of them. But if you're a corner, if you're a DB, if you're both, and by God, you're miles away, so much better than everybody else, why can't we give you a Heisman vote?
So I was thinking, who was the last player that I remember being like a do-it-all type of guy in college football? Jabril Peppers, first name that came to my mind. He finished 5th in the Heisman voting in 2016. This is the type of season that he had. He had 66 total tackles, 13 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, an interception, 167 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns, while also combining for 310 punt return yards and a touchdown there as well.
So like 500 all-purpose yards.
I remember Jabril Peppers being way better than that. Like that,
It felt that way.
It felt that way.
I remember people shoving Jabril Peppers down my throat.
Oh yeah, because he could do a backflip after a game.
Yeah.
That was his.
I remember national media telling me Jabril Peppers was going to be good and not me thinking Jabril Peppers was good. So maybe that's what Travis Hunter needs. Maybe Travis Hunter needs a swell of national media attention, which, by the way, if you've been paying attention to any other network other than here, people have been sucking off that Colorado buff all offseason. All right. I'm not one of these. I think Colorado's going to be a good football team. I think they're heading in the right direction. In fact, I have no beef or bones about the way Deion's doing it. Some people would tell you this a little too cutthroat for college football. Woe is me, all that good shit. I don't care. I don't care how you cut and gut your roster. All I care about is results. And I don't know if the results are going to come this year, but they better come quickly with the way he's going about it.
So there's a stat that is kind of damning to this idea that Travis Hunter, I mean, obviously it's a long shot.
Yeah.
No Heisman winner has won with 4 or more losses since 1969. So essentially Colorado's got to go 8-4 for it to even be a possibility, which I mean, at that point, if they are 8-4,
The closest to do this is Toby Gerhart, right? At Stanford. I remember that Stanford year. Toby Gerhart gets invited to New York and probably would have won the Heisman had they not had 3 or 4 losses. Mm-hmm. So the Heisman's voted on by a much older demographic of sports writers, probably sports writers you've never even heard about, okay? But there's like 600 of them, plus all of the former winners as well. So it's a hard thing to win without team success because historically team success was not only required, it was demanded in order for you to win.
I mean, the wink, it's kind of wink where it's like, oh, it's the best player in college football. It's the most exciting player on one of the top 15 teams.
Yeah, if we're not watching you in prime time, it's hard to win a Heisman. So yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to tune into Apple TV to watch Travis Hunter. I'm sorry.
Is that happening this year? I don't think Apple TV's happening at all. Apple TV happening except for Messi. Anybody watching Apple TV? By the way, not a soccer show, but I think the MLS little not good enough for Mr.
I guess
Messi.
I catch the occasional Braves game on there when they do that whole
on
thing.
Apple TV.
Yeah.
But it's a subscription firm, isn't it? Aren't they just searching for your subs?
I mean, yeah, that's basically what they're trying to do.
Interesting story. Don't necessarily see the Travis Hunter Heisman stuff. Also, just going to sneak this take in here because I want to, and it's my show. Travis Hunter, better receiver than he is corner. I've never seen a knee knocked NFL corner. Not one. Not one. Travis Hunter is the best knee knocked individual I've ever evaluated. In fact, he's the only one I would even give that. Like, as soon as you're knee knocked, I walk like, you know what I mean? Where send me to one. Some people don't know what knee knocked and bow-legged and all this stuff means. Last time we did this, our audio went haywire. Hey, bow-legged, knee knocked. That simple. Travis Hunter, knee knocked. Not an athlete historically that has the explosive measurables that guy does, but he certainly has the ability to do so. So interesting to see what they got going on out there in Colorado. Not a super brutal schedule, but just not one that I think they survive from a we're about to win national awards type of deal. Hey, we got some audio to play. Give me that Eli Drinkwitz quote, because, ladies and gentlemen, I think if there were a football coach in America that you told me I had to every day listen to for 30 minutes, I think I might pick Eli Drinkwitz. I would pick Kirby Smart or Nick Saban first for, like, I'm trying to learn about how to be an elite human being, all that good stuff. But if I'm trying to not only be entertained, but leave thinking and be provoked in terms of the thought room, Eli Drinkwitz is that. So give me that quote right quick, man.
My question is, did we count the cost? I'm not talking about a financial cost. I'm talking about, did we count the cost for the student athletes involved in this decision? What cost is it to those student athletes? We're talking about a football decision. They based off football, but what about softball and baseball who have to travel cross country? Do we ask about the cost to them? Do we know what the number one indicator of symptom or cause of mental health is? It's lack of rest and sleep. Traveling in those baseball, softball games, you know, those people, they travel commercial.
Always is.
They get done playing at 4. They got to go to the airport. They come back. It's 3 or 4 in the morning. They got to go to class. I mean, did we ask any of them? Are we going to look back? I don't worry at all about the game. The game is going to be strong. Football is going to be fine. We'll all figure it out. But did we consider the people that we are entrusted with? Did we consider the student athlete? Because then we're asking them to go out on their own to get NIL.
We didn't play the whole quote, but he goes on to talk about how we leave players on their own when it comes to NIL. And you notice that there was no talks about revenue split with this stuff, because there ain't going to be. It's coming down eventually. Congress will make college sports, and it'll dissolve NCAA and all that good stuff. It's a whole nother discussion for the realignment talk that we're going to have in a second. I was a little disappointed when we went to Nashville and we had to listen to Eli Drinkwitz go out there and try to not say anything. And he did a great job of not saying anything. He even said, I'm coming out here to not say anything. And then he not said anything for 30 minutes or however long his presser was. But if you've ever listened to an actual press conference of him, like I led with, he is a certifiable quote. In fact, of all of the college football coaches, I think he is probably the most candid and the most honest and the most forthcoming with his thoughts when he talks on the microphone and when he's asked questions about things that are, difficult, like conference realignment and conference expansion. And he did take the easy stance. The easy stance is to talk about the location, right? We have 4 teams that are on the far, far West Coast now traveling to the Northeast, which is where the Big Ten's located. And as he mentioned, obviously he has the data behind this because he's a smart football coach. He's a smart coach in general. He's a smart developer of young people. What is the number one cause of depression in young people? Lack of sleep and health. Well, we're going to ask these guys and these girls to travel all across the country. And he's so right when he talks about it's not about the revenue sports. The revenue sports are going to be fine. Basketball teams from fucking UCLA's basketball teams going to fly on private jets. They don't care. It's not about those guys. It's about the swim team. It's about the softball team. It's about the baseball team. It's about the non-revenue sports who now have to spend most of their time traveling back and forth. And the other thing I never thought about, because, again, a little self-centered here, parents. I chose to play at USC because I'm from Southern California. I chose to play at UCLA because I have parents in Northern California, or I have family in Northern California that wants to be able to see half of my games when we play the Pac-12 North. Like, those things matter. Those things care. Those things are important. And like he said, it doesn't really matter, what the bottom line is. We know that. College football is going to be fine. I love that he said that as well. I don't know if we got to that point in the clip, but college football is going to be fine. The product's going to be fine. You're still going to watch on Saturdays. You're not going to care how far UCLA had to travel to play Rutgers that morning. You're not going to care. The only reason you're going to know is because they're going to show you the cool little graphic of the plane flying across the country. And that's the only reason you know. But you're not really going to think about the swim team that's got to spend 2 months out there in Indiana at the virtual campus that they're building. Did you know that they're doing that too? Did you know that all of these Western Coast teams will have a virtual college campus in Indianapolis for teams like the baseball team and the softball team that don't want to travel back and forth for a Tuesday game and then come back to their road game against Indiana or whoever the hell they're playing that week in baseball? So they're just going to stay there. They're going to have to do all their work and all their homework and all their living in basically a hotel because they committed to a Pac-12 school that is now a Big Ten school that's completely across the country. We're going to talk a lot more about realignment towards the end of this show, but like, I don't know. Again, college football is going to be fine. The ones that we care about, they're going to be fine. But the rest of the stuff, the non-revenue sports is just, I mean, they got shot in the face yesterday or this week.
Yeah, and I think that's what I liked so much about what Drinkwitz said, because so easily college coaches will come up there and they'll tell you how whatever decision was made affects them, and they'll give you their 2 cents on what they think needs to change that helps them, what benefits them. He came on here and he told you, he said, football programs are good. Like what I'm doing, we are good, but it's everybody else. And I thought that was so powerful that he got up there because he knows he has a platform where he can say things like that, and it'll go on Twitter and people will post it. And I thought it was great that he used his platform in that way to shed light on something that I don't think a lot of people are necessarily talking about enough, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the person at the bottom of the totem pole gets screwed because you've got your execs up here and then it trickles all the way down. Then you've got football players, basketball players, and then below that's all your non-revenue people. They're getting the shaft of all this, like you said. So it really sucks. And I think it's going to hurt a lot of these teams in the long run because now if you're a softball player, why would you want to play for a Pac-12 team? Because you're going to have to travel more than any player in the world. If you're a nationally ranked swimmer, why are you going to go to Oregon? Because you have to go to Ohio half the time. Why would you do any of those non-revenue sports? Football, obviously, it is what it is. But I think it's going to hurt overall play in a lot of these schools too.
You think travel, like I've traveled some of the, I'm not going to travel like first class like some of these football teams do, but man, like nothing takes it out of you worse than playing a game of football, the game ending at 8 o'clock Eastern time, okay, 9 o'clock. Worse, you play 8:30 game, you play 8 o'clock kick, Penn State, whiteout, okay. You get done with that football game, it's fucking 2 o'clock in the morning by the time you get out of the dressing room. You get on the plane, now we got to fly back. Let's say you even stay in a hotel that night. Let's say you stay in at Penn State all Saturday night. You wake up Sunday, you fly back home. Now we got time changes. Now we got all this, like, right? And not only that, now my body has decompressed. Now my body is sitting still, okay, and getting stiff for 5, 6, 7 hours. And as soon as I get off that plane Sunday, I got to finish up my homework and my schoolwork for Monday's classes. And oh, by the way, practice starts Monday. My body hadn't really recovered at all because I've been sitting in a daggone plane seat for 5 or 6 hours or worse, sleeping in a hotel bed. It doesn't make sense unless you're the ones counting the TV revenue split, which is what the reality is. And that's what our next movement is. It's into the realignment discussion, and that's where these discussions come from. These discussions are 100% bottom line based. That's it. All they care about right now is the bottom line. So how did we get here? Well, we got here with the Pac-12 commissioner saying this, and I'm going to explain this in totality here in just a second. But Jonathan, give me this clip of the Pac-12 commissioner sounding like an absolute dipshit 4 years ago.
To see the consolidation happening in the industry where ESPN and Disney are going to have more resources to buy sports rights, that Fox is going to have more resources to buy sports rights, that Turner, now that it's owned by AT&T, is going to have more resources to provide sports rights. Couldn't be more delighted with where we are strategically and the fact that, you know, we're the only conference in the country that come 2024 is going to have all our rights back, complete control, and we're going to be able to adapt and react and take advantage of this new world media order that's coming in a way others can't.
So that was the Pac-12 commissioner 4 years ago in 2018. And you hear him talking about ESPN is going to have, more assets to buy sports rights. Fox is going to have assets to buy more sports rights. CBS is going to have more assets to buy sports rights. All true. All good. All have higher bank account assets and higher, resources than they did in 2018 when he made those statements. All were available to buy his program in 2024 as he predicted. The problem is that the Pac-12 made a deal with Apple TV and Apple Plus to stream and subscription base all of their football games. That was the network provider that they chose. Okay. And when the projections came out and said, this was what your revenue split's going to be for all of your member schools, and that revenue split was drastically different than the rest of college football, guess what? You had people start leaving, and you had people start looking elsewhere because your revenue split was dog water, as we say on this program, because you didn't leverage anything. You went out, and if you look on that clip, he's got Pac12.com right behind his logo in his head, because the Pac-12 went out and created their own machine, created their own network, created their own conference, created their own website, created all their own stuff, and they owned their own rights, and that's great. But none of the TV sponsors had to buy them. They didn't have to go get into a bidding war to acquire the Pac-12, because the Pac-12 made their own website, made their own streaming deal, made their own stuff. They got their own shit. So why do I need to go pay them for it? Let them die on the vine. And so as soon as it started happening, you know what Big Ten did? Big Ten starts sniffing around. I'm going to take the big boys. Come on. USC, UCLA, we'll start with y'all. We'll break the iceberg. And then in a couple years, we'll come back and we'll get Washington and we'll get Oregon, and you'll disband. And in fact, the Big 12 is going to pick you the hell apart too, because they're going to take Colorado, they're going to take Arizona, they're going to take Arizona State and Utah, and you're going to cease to exist. It got so bad that I read a report today that said the Big 12's commissioner actually reached out, or excuse me, the Pac-12's commissioner actually reached out to the Big 12 last week and begged them to take the other 9 member schools so they didn't have to break up. So that Washington State, Stanford, Cal, and there's one other school getting left out, hung out to dry right here in this situation. They're just screwed. They're just not going to end up in a program, or not going to end up in a conference. And I don't know what this means for college football. I don't even know how to discuss this entertainingly. Okay. We can sit here, we can do wins, losses, we can do whatever. Give me your general thoughts, I guess, first, and then we can spin it from there. Because I think there are some obvious winners. I think there's some obvious losers. But I think the main loser is college football fans who are chasing late to pick up their money on the Pac-12 after dark. Shouts out Prize Picks.
I've been there. No, I mean, this is kind of the worst example of or the best example as to what happens when betting on yourself goes catastrophically wrong. Pac-12 basically said, we don't need TV deals. We don't need revenue shares. We don't need any of that. We're going to build our own program. We're going to build our own brand doing this. And to be honest, the brand just wasn't that good. Pac-12 football is so much inferior to SEC, Big Ten, even Big 12 football at times. So now, I mean, there's been a joke for probably 5 or 6 years now that there isn't really a Power 5. It's a Power 4 in Pac-12.
Yeah.
So that kind of just reared its ugly head when the revenue shares came out, and now.
Well, I think too, like you said, the model wasn't built very well, and like the primetime games were games that really weren't accessible to us very much to watch. I can't tell you how many times I would look at the Pac-12 channel or whoever they were playing on and be like, well, I would like to watch that game, but heck, it's already midnight. I need to take myself to bed. And it's why, like when they play the World Series in the MLB, they schedule that thing at like 5, 6 o'clock or a little bit later so that they can get both the West Coast and the East Coast. And I feel like the Pac-12 did a bad job of just ignoring everybody else kind of in the world of where your core fans of college football are on the other side of the United States. And you just kind of rocked with your own section. And now you no longer have your own section. Yeah,
it's interesting to go back and read like their pre-existing TV deal with CBS. It was awful too. They settled for what is equivalent of a $37 million revenue split for each individual school. It's the lowest among all Power 5 conferences, even before all of this stuff. So for the last 10 years, they've been getting walked in circles around by the rest of the conferences. I've told you on this network, the Big Ten's TV deal is far superior to anybody else in college football. And if you don't believe me how superior it is, $11 million per school. $11 million per school better. That's how good the Big Ten's TV network deal is, even in the SEC. They get $58.8 million. Projections are that's expected to skyrocket to north of 80 million per year of annual distribution amongst Big Ten network schools in just a couple of years. The SEC is just under $50 million per year of financial distribution to each of the 14 member schools. That number will slightly increase when Texas and Oklahoma get into the conference in a couple of years, or next year rather. The ACC gets $38 to $41 million per school. I guess that's slotted depending on what school you are. And I think that was another, monumental point for the Pac-12. And I actually learned this from Joel Klatt. Listened to him the other day. Shouts out. Not that he's a friend of the show or anything, or I know Joel Klatt. But Joel was talking about how back in, I think it was 2015, the Pac-12 restructured their TV deal. Their TV deal used to be kind of slotted, right? USC, a lot more important than Washington State. So we're going to give USC a larger portion of the net revenue splits than we do Washington State, right? Makes a little sense. Well, that's not how it got rewritten. In 2015, they rewrote the code on the distribution to give it evenly to all of the member schools. That was the first kind of spit in the face to a team in a program like USC who felt like they were carrying most of the water and most of the weight for the Pac-12. I don't know if there was a way he could have avoided this being the Pac-12 commissioner. I think he certainly could have acted a lot quicker. I think what the Pac-12 viewed as an advantageous position for us to be completely free and withstanding by 2024 is actually what kind of got them screwed in the long run, because they didn't have a partner. And when you don't have a partner and people are going to war, that's not great. Honestly, it probably means you're the one that's going to get picked apart, and that's exactly what happened.
There, for a while, everybody was saying who's going to get left behind, and you want to make sure that you are not the team that gets left behind, or in this case, the conference that gets left behind. When people started jumping ship, that was kind of the signal of, all right, it's time to start making moves. We're time to evaluate our future as a conference or as a program or whoever, and figure out where do we need to be. Texas and Oklahoma figured it out relatively quickly. But the Pac-12 just never seemed like they really figured it out. They kept betting on themselves. They kept saying that we were going to be okay. We would stay afloat and everybody would stick with us. And then one after another. And it just happened so rapidly. It felt like that all of a sudden you blink and the Pac-12 is.
I love how they tried to jump on the collective grenade. How they were like, hey, we'll dissolve, we'll disband, just take our member schools together. I thought that was interesting to hear that they were willing to at least try that. But I would imagine that's Washington State. That's, all those schools, Stanford, the schools that were getting left out, Cal, probably calling the Pac-12 commissioner and like, hey, man, are you really going to let us get screwed this bad? And the answer is yes, they definitely did.
Well, I mean, the Pac-12's always been kind of late to the party on making decisions. Even when you went back to 2020 with COVID, where the debate was, are we even going to have a season? And the SEC and ACC went forward like, yes, we're playing. Then Big Ten came a little behind. And then like a month later, the Pac-12 was like, yeah, actually, we'll play 4 games this year. So, I mean, they've always kind of been late to the ship. And I think that's what has been their demise, is the fact that they don't make decisions quick enough. They don't read the writing on the walls quick enough. And now here they are, pretty much non-existent.
They haven't really quickly as well. I mean, the Big 12 news with Colorado happened, what, last week? 2 weeks? 2 weeks ago. And here we are. The Pac-12's basically dissolved. It's dissolved. And I was on a radio station out in Las Vegas last week, and they were asking me about this. And as I'm being loaded into the radio station, I can hear the producers talking. And the producers are talking about Jake Butt. Remember the tight end from Michigan? Well, he's flamed out of the NFL already. He's on the Big Ten network. And they were saying that Jake Butt was going to be late to the radio hit because he had to be rushed into the Big Ten network studio to talk about the news. So for those of you who aren't understanding what I'm talking about, the Big Ten network, the TV network responsible for covering the Big Ten, had to emergency call their employees to get them into the building to record content when all of the Big Ten news broke. You know what that tells me? The Big Ten didn't fucking know what was about to happen. You know what I mean? Like, everybody got caught with their pants down, and everybody's working at the last little moments. So, oh, we better go. Oh, we better jump. Oh, we better make a decision. And so that's cool. That's fine, right? And it to me, it's unsettling as hell. To me, it's unsettling as hell that we are having college football decision makers, people who are responsible for running our sport that we love, that everyone watching this tonight is super, super passionate about. Those decision makers are just willy-nilly flying by the seat of their pants, making decisions at the last minute, and just, I mean, completely geographically rewriting the history of college football and doing it just at the whimsical. Like, that to me is absurd.
It's easy to say that it sucks because in the grand scheme of things, it does. Because seeing so much change in college football and kind of seeing college football, what you've come to love as a child for so long, it's changing this much. Like thinking about an entire conference just disappearing all of a sudden and just
into the ether,
into thin air is crazy to think about. But also, I mean, you'll just adapt like you always do to change.
Do you know who John Skipper is?
No.
John Skipper was the former president and CEO of ESPN.
Mhm.
John Skipper
I know
is
who he
the guy because of the reason he got fired from ESPN.
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured. That checks out with you over there. John Skipper is the person that wrote the ACC network deal. John Skipper is the one who brought the SEC onto ESPN, wrote the SEC network deal. John Skipper is also the person that wrote the Texas Longhorns TV deal. I was listening to John Skipper about 6 hours before the news of Oregon to Washington broke. And John Skipper was out here talking about how they thought Apple was going to save the Pac-12. How Apple, at the last minute, was going to finally get this, and they were going to redistribute their subscription numbers, and they were going to alter the split a little bit just to make sure that the Pac-12 remained. And 5 hours later, gone. See, it's amazing to me how quickly these things are happening on the realignment circuit. And we've told you, and I think it's going to continue to be our stance here on this network, just wait. Just wait and see. Just sit on your hands until we get an actual definite answer from things. Do y'all want to watch a little tape?
Yeah. Give him a
Watch
shot.
a little Gatlin Bear. Gatlin Bear, highest ranked player to ever commit to Boise State. I know you're wondering, why in the hell is Buddy talking about Boise State football? Well, this dude's tape is electric. This dude's a 10-1-8 100-meter runner. This dude's got go-go juice, and his name is Gatlin, and he's from Idaho, and he's a guy. So I want to watch him, and I want to watch him right now. So let's grind some tape. Hopefully shit doesn't go haywire. This tape is phenomenal. All right. I sometimes watch track guys on tape, and I'm like, you got track speed. You don't have football speed. This ain't one of them. This dude, as soon as he touches it, you say, oh, my God, what in the world? He just running by folks. He jumping over folks. It is an explosive tape, okay? Explosive the entire time as well. So love to see it. Also love to see that he's playing doo-doo competition because we expect to see that. But look at this angle-defying run right here. Oh, a little make you miss too. A lot bigger than you'd imagine for a track guy too. Got really, really good contact balance here. This Gatlin Bear is almost snap an ankle. Get a little special teams here from the kid. Make somebody miss. Get after it. 10-1-8 in the 100. Okay, can absolutely burn. Now, what would you play him at? You play him at receiver? Probably just leave him at receiver. I would immediately let him return kicks and return punts, especially kickoff returns. One thing I've been impressed with throughout the film and throughout studying Gatlin since I found out about him is the fact that he is a receiver. Like, dude high points the football. He runs relatively decent routes. He's aggressive at the catch point. He can run with the ball in his hands after the catch. Things that, he can make guys miss, like this right here. Things that typically track guys, like high-end track guys, don't necessarily have, right? We downgraded Dwight Phillips. I know this is a national product here. And we did the film study of Dwight Phillips a little bit ago. We knocked him for his ability to make guys miss, right? His shakeability, because he's such a linear athlete, such a track guy that runs straight line speed. This dude has the ability to have some shake and some waggle. Number 40 overall player in the country, Gatlin Bear, headed to Boise State. Some good tape there from my man.
You know what I just learned?
What's up?
I learned which team I'm going to be using in the new NCAA game.
You been using Boise State?
Yeah, man. That's 99 speed right there. That's all you need.
Yeah,
That's all
just
you need right there.
send them on and go, baby.
Deep routes all day.
That's all you need.
Oh man,
What?
just run and goes. That's your strat.
You spamming verts?
I didn't say that. I got to scout the rosters. All right, I got to figure out what they're doing to the ratings. But 99 speed, that's a key attribute.
It's
right
a
there.
tremendous point. I don't know how much my productivity will go down when NCAA comes out, but you notice I've had to stop playing COD. I've had to stop playing video games, and it's because I just wasn't getting shit done, to be honest with you. But we used to send you out with some type of fun quote, and recently I've been writing some more some like little nuggets, some little pieces of life, if you will, some advice. Not even life advice, just things that touch me, impact me, like this place. Okay. I started covering Georgia in March of 2019. I had 400 followers. I was working 55 hours a week in construction as a project manager for a bridge rehabilitation company. And I always knew I wanted to do this. Okay. But, you know, it's one thing to have a dream and have aspirations. It's another to think you can do them. I never thought that I could do this until I started to do it. And then eventually I started to figure it out. And once I started to figure it out, I was addicted to it. And I was talking to some people yesterday, some older people, not 22-year-olds, not 23-year-olds. I'm talking about adults, okay, people who have reached their point in life and they're fine. They're happy. They got kids. They've reached a point of status in work and that they're happy with. And I asked them, I said, did you ever have any type of career aspirations or career dreams, right? Did you ever dream to want to be something? And their answer was, when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I used to dream all the time. And I don't know what happens. I don't know where we are in life when our dream machine just turns off and we stop dreaming. But don't. Whatever you're dreaming about, whatever you're passionate about, whatever you're willing to give your efforts towards, just go. Just do it. All right. And I'm gonna be honest with you, it's really, really lonely. I was thinking about a thank you speech. I don't know why I would give one. Okay, but we've come a long way, and I'm very thankful for my career and where we've reached and the platform that we've managed to succeed or achieve. But I will tell you this about pursuing dreams: it's really lonely. It's really, really lonely. Not a lot of people are going to match your energy. Not a lot of people are going to believe in you. You're going to be up late at night all the time. You're going to be consumed. You're going to be thinking about what you're thinking about all the time. I would just tell you that that's where you're supposed to be. And I will also tell you that on your journey of dream chasing, right? The breaks in the road, the breaks in the run, the breaks in the sprint, you have no idea when they're going to come. You don't. There is no horizon. There is no, hey, in 30 seconds, we get to take a rest. There's none of that. Just run and run hard the whole time. That's all you can do. All right. So yeah, man, I love this place. It means a lot to me. And I'm proud. I'm proud of what I've been able to accomplish and what we've been able to accomplish as a team. And boys, I'm glad you came with me. Okay. I'm glad you took the risk and took the leap of faith, because I know it's not always easy. It's really, really comforting to walk into a company, right? A real company, not some YouTube guy that you believe in. So I am thankful that you guys do this. Thankful for you guys at home too. Hit that thumbs up button on your way out. Hey, I love you. We'll see you next time.